The night was quiet on the forgotten planet of Virion. The air smelled like metal dust and old storms. The sky glowed with two pale moons, and the wind sang through the broken towers of an ancient alien city. A group of explorers from Earth had landed there just 2 days ago, hoping to find proof that another intelligent race once lived among the stars. Among them was Ethan Vale, a young archaeologist with a quick smile and too much curiosity for his own safety. He always joked when things got scary, and his crewmates often said, "If Ethan's laughing, we're probably about to die." But that night, inside the main hall of a half-buried alien temple, even Ethan's laughter sounded nervous. The team had found something strange and a statue. It stood in the center of the hall like a queen frozen in time. The statue was tall and elegant, shaped like a woman but clearly not human. Her skin looked like silver stone, smooth and shining even after 1,000 years. Her eyes were closed, and her hands rested together as if in silent prayer. Every detail was perfect, the gentle lines of her face, the flowing robe, the hair carved like rivers of light. Dr. Mira, the team's lead scientist, whispered, "This might be the most perfect alien artifact ever found," but Ethan only grinned, walking around it slowly. "She looks too real," he said, "like she's just pretending to sleep." His friend Kyle laughed. "Maybe she's waiting for her true love to kiss her awake." Everyone chuckled, their voices echoing in the dark temple. It was supposed to be a joke, a light moment after hours of scanning data and digging through dust. But Ethan, being Ethan, took the joke one step further. He bowed dramatically in front of the statue. "My lady," he said, "on behalf of all humans, I offer you my kiss." Dr. Mira groaned. "Ethan, don't you dare!" But it was too late. He leaned forward, smirking, and gently touched his lips to the cold silver cheek of the statue. For a second, nothing happened, then the air seemed to freeze. The lights from their equipment flickered and the ground gave a low, trembling sound like a growl from the deep earth. Ethan pulled back, confused. Did anyone else feel that? The others were staring in shock, their faces pale. The statue's eyes, once closed, were now glowing. Soft blue light shone from them, lighting the whole hall in an eerie shimmer. A thin crack ran across the statue's lips, and then, impossibly as they moved. "You doomed your species," the voice said. Quiet but clear. The sound wasn't human. It was like wind and music mixed together. Ethan stumbled back, his heart pounding. What did she just say?" The others began shouting, some running for the exit, others pointing scanners and cameras. The temple walls started to hum, symbols glowing in strange patterns. Dust fell from the ceiling as if the structure itself was waking from a long sleep. The statue turned her head slowly toward Ethan, her stone face shifting, cracking, revealing smooth silver skin underneath. Her eyes looked right into his, not with anger, but with deep sorrow. He felt like she could see every thought, every memory, every heartbeat inside him. "Human," she whispered, "why did you break the seal?" Ethan shook his head, terrified. It was just a joke." The statue blinked, and for the first time, a single silver tear rolled down her cheek. "Jokes," she said softly, "have ended empires." The air temperature dropped suddenly, their breath turning white in the air. Their lights flickered again, showing strange shadows moving along the walls. Dr. Mira shouted, "We need to get out, now!" But the temple doors slammed shut with a thunderous sound. Sealing them inside, the sound echoed like thunder, shaking the dust from the ancient ceiling. Ethan ran to the door, pulling at it, but it wouldn't move. When he turned back, the statue was stepping forward, her movements slow, heavy, as if fighting against invisible chains. Every step she took made the ground vibrate. "Ethan!" Kyle yelled. "What did you do?" Ethan couldn't answer. He could barely breathe. The statue, no. The woman raised her glowing hand and blue light shot across the floor. Symbols spread beneath Ethan's feet like living veins of light. He fell to his knees as a strange burning mark appeared on his right hand. He screamed, but no sound came out. His voice was swallowed by the temple's hum. The alien woman's voice filled the air again. Stronger this time. "It has begun," she said. "The chain is broken." Ethan's vision blurred, his body shaking with pain. When he looked up, he saw her standing right in front of him now, alive, breathing, her silver hair flowing like mist. She reached out and touched his face, her eyes soft yet filled with sadness. "I am sorry, human," she whispered, "but the galaxy will remember your name as the one who kissed death awake." The lights in the hall burst all at once, and everything went black. Outside, the ground cracked open, sending beams of light into the dark sky. The planet shuddered like a heartbeat. The crew screamed, their voices fading into the roar of ancient machines waking from a 1,000-year sleep. And as the dust swallowed the temple, only one sound echoed through the ruins. The whisper of a woman saying, "The seal is broken." When Ethan opened his eyes, everything was quiet again. The air around him glowed faint blue. Like he was underwater, his body felt heavy, and his right hand burned like fire. He looked down and saw the strange glowing mark, and it was still there. Shining softly under his skin, the symbol looked alive, moving and changing shape every few seconds. It didn't feel like a wound. It felt like something watching him from inside. He tried to stand, but the ground shook and he stumbled against a broken pillar. The temple was half destroyed, cracks running across the walls, ancient dust floating like smoke. Dr. Mira and Kyle were lying nearby, coughing and calling out for help. "Ethan, what happened?" Mira shouted, her voice shaky. Ethan tried to answer, but the memory of the statue's eyes made his chest tighten. "She spoke," he said quietly. "She said, 'I doomed our species.'" Kyle looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Man, that was a statue. You must have hit your head." But before Ethan could speak again, a cold breeze filled the room. It carried a sound thus like a whisper mixed with music. The dust began to rise from the floor, forming glowing lines in the air. The same blue light returned, brighter this time. From the center of the temple, the statue stood again, but she was no longer stone. Her skin was smooth silver, her hair flowing like liquid metal in the air. Her eyes glowed with endless sadness, yet there was life in them. 1,000 years of silence now broken. Dr. Mira gasped, "It's alive." The woman looked around, her voice soft but filled with power. "The seal is undone," she said. "The stars will burn once more." Ethan stepped forward slowly. "Who are you?" She looked at him, her eyes reflecting his own face. "I am Lysera, guardian of the Silent Empire," she said. "I slept to protect the stars from what your kind could not understand." Ethan frowned. "I didn't mean to do anything. It was a joke." Her gaze darkened. "Jokes, human, are often how fate begins." The walls behind her lit up with strange symbols, forming pictures. A giant black wave devouring planets, creatures made of shadow swallowing the light of suns, millions of alien figures standing together, raising their hands in sacrifice. And then the wave was trapped inside a sphere of light, a prison powered by life itself. Lysera touched the glowing image, her voice breaking. "We sealed the hunger beyond stars, but to keep it contained, one of us had to become the key," Ethan realized, his voice trembling. You were the key." Lysera nodded slowly. "For 1,000 of your years I slept, holding back the darkness." The ground rumbled again, and outside a deep rumble echoed across the horizon. Mira checked her scanner. "There's energy movement all over this planet, huge spikes, like something waking up underground." Lysera closed her eyes, her silver lashes trembling. "It has begun," she whispered. "The hunger feels the seals fall." Ethan looked down at his hand again, the mark glowing brighter. "What's happening to me?" he asked. Lysera turned to him slowly, her expression unreadable. "You were the first to touch the key," she said softly. "Now, you carry part of its power and its curse." Kyle laughed nervously. "This is insane. We need to call the ship. Get out of here." But the comms were dead, every channel filled with static. Their ship's lights outside flickered on and off, as if the power source was being drained. Ethan stepped closer to Lysera, ignoring Kyle's warning. "Can I fix it?" he asked. "Can I seal it again?" Lysera shook her head. "You cannot seal what has already awakened." Her voice lowered. "But you might still redirect it. If you survive long enough to learn." Mira pointed at Ethan's hand. "That mark, it's spreading." Blue veins of light were crawling up his arm. Pulsing with strange energy, Ethan dropped to his knees. Pain shooting through his body like fire. He could hear whispers again. Dozens of voices calling his name. Some crying, some angry, some begging. Lysera knelt beside him, placing her silver hand on his chest. The voices stopped instantly, replaced by a deep silence. Her touch was cold but calm, and for a moment, he felt peace. She whispered, "Do not fight it, human. It will hurt more if you resist." Ethan's breathing slowed, his vision blurry. He looked up at her face, beautiful, yet filled with a sadness no human could understand. "Why me?" he asked weakly. Lysera looked away, her eyes shimmering like stars. Because only your kind could break it, she said. Only your kind could set it free. Her voice softened. And perhaps only your kind can stop it. The temple shook violently, dust falling like rain. Kyle shouted, "We need to leave now." Lysera stood tall, her eyes glowing brighter. "I will not stop you," she said, "but running will not save you." She raised her hand, and the mark on Ethan's arm responded, glowing the same blue. The walls around them showed images again, this time of Earth, cities, oceans, and the blue sky, then all turning black as if eaten by shadow. Mira gasped, "That's Earth." "What's happening?" Lysera whispered. "Your world will be the first to fall." Ethan's heart stopped for a moment. He looked at the vision, at the darkness swallowing his home. His mind screamed that it wasn't real, but his heart knew it was. He turned to Lysera, his voice cracking. "Then tell me what I have to do." Lysera's glowing eyes softened. "You cannot stop fate, human," she said. "But you can change how it ends." As her words faded, the walls around them began to collapse. Light poured from the cracks like waterfalls of fire. Ethan grabbed Mira and Kyle, pulling them toward the exit as everything fell apart. When he looked back one last time, Lysera stood in the storm of light, silent, unmoving, her eyes still watching him. Her final whisper followed him through the chaos. "The universe remembers. Ethan Vale, you have awakened what sleeps between the stars." The ship shook as it lifted off the alien ground. Smoke and blue light poured from the cracks in the temple below. Ethan sat in the co-pilot's chair, staring at his hand. The glowing mark was spreading across his arm like a living flame, every few seconds. He could feel something move under his skin, like whispers crawling through his veins. Dr. Mira's voice trembled as she spoke. "We need to get back to orbit." Kyle was already pressing controls. "If the engines hold, we can leave this nightmare behind." But Ethan didn't speak. He couldn't because every time he blinked, he saw her face, Lysera, the silver-skinned alien who once had been a statue. Her voice echoed in his mind like an echo from a dream. "You carry the key now, human, and with it, the doom of your kind outside the window." The alien city was collapsing into itself. Towers fell like broken bones, and energy waves pulsed across the surface of the planet. It was as if the world was waking from a deep sleep only to die. Then a sudden jolt threw them forward. Alarms screamed across the control deck. "Engine overload!" Kyle yelled. "Something's interfering with the reactor." Blue light flickered through the cabin, and Ethan's arm glowed in the same rhythm. The ship's sensors flashed a warning. "Unknown energy link detected." Dr. Mira looked at Ethan, terrified. "It's coming from you." He backed away, shaking his head. "No, it can't be." But before he finished, a blinding pulse of energy burst from his hand. The entire ship trembled, lights flickering in his mind. Ethan saw a flash, a dark space filled with stars dying one by one. A voice whispered, "We are coming." He fell to his knees, gasping as the image of Earth appeared, surrounded by a shadow that looked alive. When he opened his eyes again, the ship was drifting silently. Kyle had managed to stabilize it, sweat pouring down his face. "What the hell was that?" he shouted. "Ethan, what did you do?" Ethan didn't know how to answer. All he could say was, "She said it's connected to me, that I broke something I can't fix." The cabin lights dimmed suddenly, and the screens filled with static. A soft female voice echoed through the speakers, calm and distant. "You cannot run from it." "Human," Dr. Mira froze. That voice, it was Lysera. Her form appeared on the screen, not like a normal transmission, but like light itself forming her image. Her eyes were cold but gentle, her silver hair moving as if underwater. "You are bound to me now," she said. "You carry the seal's power, and the hunger's eyes will follow you until it feeds again." Kyle shouted, "You're not real. You're just some kind of hologram." Lysera looked at him sadly. "Your world will know soon what real means." She turned her gaze back to Ethan. "You must listen to me. Human, you have only 3 cycles before the hunger reaches your son." Mira stepped forward. "If you know how to stop it, tell us." Lysera shook her head. "It cannot be stopped, only redirected." Ethan clenched his fists. "Redirected where?" Lysera's voice softened. "To where it came from, the place between stars. The void your kind calls nothing." Her image flickered. "But the seal was not meant for humans. Your body is too weak to hold its energy." Ethan shouted. Then why me? Why did it choose me? Lysera looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Because you kissed the key, she said simply. Your heart awakened what your mind could not understand. Her image began to fade. You are now both weapon and wound. The screen went dark, and silence filled the cabin. Kyle kicked the console. Great. Now ghosts are giving us lectures, Dr. Mira whispered. She's not lying. Our long-range sensors show something huge moving across space. Ethan looked at the data. It wasn't just any object. It was a wave, a massive distortion in the stars themselves. It was devouring everything in its path, leaving empty darkness behind, he whispered. It's the hunger. Suddenly, the mark on his arm flared again, and he screamed in pain. Blue light filled the cabin as strange symbols appeared on the walls. Floating like holograms, they weren't random. They looked like coordinates. A map written in alien script. Dr. Mira leaned closer. Ethan, it's trying to show us something. He focused on the symbols. His head pounding, images flashed in his mind. Planets, ruins, a golden sphere buried in light. Then Lysera's voice returned, faint but clear. The Star Forge, she whispered. Find it, and maybe you can rewrite what you broke. The vision ended, and Ethan collapsed into his seat, sweating and trembling. Mira held his shoulders. Ethan, you okay? He nodded weakly. She gave me a location, somewhere far from here. Kyle frowned. And what? You think we should just follow the glowing arm of doom? Ethan looked out at the stars, his voice steady. If it's our only chance to save Earth, yes. They set a course toward the coordinates. The engines hummed back to life, but the ship's AI warned them again. Energy anomaly expanding, target Earth. Dr. Mira covered her mouth. It's moving faster. Ethan looked down at his hand. The light now calm but pulsing like a heartbeat, he whispered. Then we have to move faster too. Outside the window, the stars stretched into long lines as the ship jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, the dying planet of Virion collapsed into blue fire. And somewhere far away in the black void between galaxies, something opened its eyes. It whispered his name, Ethan Vale, and laughed like a storm eating the stars. The stars stretched into long silver lines as the ship raced through hyperspace. Inside the cabin, everything was quiet except for the hum of the engines and the steady pulse of Ethan's glowing arm. He sat by the window watching the endless light outside, his face pale, his eyes tired. He hadn't slept since the planet fell apart, and even when he closed his eyes, he could still hear her voice, Lysera whispering through his dreams. She called him by a name he didn't understand. The catalyst, and every time she said it, the mark on his hand glowed brighter. Dr. Mira sat across from him, checking the readings again and again. There's no mistake, she said softly. The energy wave is moving faster. It's eating through systems like a disease. Kyle cursed under his breath. We'll never reach Earth in time if this keeps spreading. Ethan looked up, his voice low. We're not going to Earth, Mira frowned. Then where? Ethan pointed at the holographic map. The Star Forge. That's where she told me to go. The ship jumped out of hyperspace near a dying star. The scene outside was terrifying. Whole planets breaking apart, pieces floating in glowing dust. Dark waves crawled through space like living smoke. Swallowing everything they touched, the hunger was no longer just a story. It was real. Alive and moving, dear God, Kyle whispered, staring at the sensors. It's eating the light. Ethan's hand started burning again, the mark flaring gold instead of blue this time. Strange symbols appeared in the air. Spinning around him like tiny suns, he could hear faint voices. Not angry this time, but pleading. Return the key. Return the light. Mira backed away. Ethan, something's changing in you. He could barely hear her. His mind was full of visions. He saw Lysera standing in the middle of a dark storm. Her silver hair whipping like fire, she whispered. You are connected now. When it moves, you will feel it. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. Alarm screaming, Kyle yelled, We're caught in something, a gravitational field. The darkness outside had started to twist, forming a shape, a giant sphere of shadow with glowing eyes. It wasn't just energy anymore, it was alive. The hunger had found them, Mira shouted. We need to jump now. Kyle pulled the controls, but the ship refused to respond. The dark field had locked onto them, dragging them closer. Lights flickered, and cold mist began to fill the cabin. Ethan grabbed the console, his eyes glowing faintly gold. Let me try, he said before anyone could stop him. He placed his marked hand on the control panel. Energy shot through the ship, not from the engines but from him. The screens turned gold, and the ship jolted forward, breaking free from the pull. They flew far from the dark mass until it finally faded behind them. The cabin was filled with smoke, the crew gasping for air. Mira stared at Ethan in disbelief. What was that? You controlled the ship. Ethan shook his head, his voice weak. No, I didn't. Something else did through me. Kyle muttered. Great. Now the alien ghost is flying our ship. Ethan ignored him and looked at his arm. The mark was glowing brighter than ever. And then, through the static of the speakers, Lysera's voice returned, calm but urgent. You cannot run forever, Ethan Vale. The hunger has tasted your soul. Her image appeared again, faint and shimmering like a dream. She stood in a place of endless light, surrounded by ancient machines. This is the Starforge, she said. A weapon built by my people to shape energy. It can create or destroy stars. Ethan leaned closer. You said we could redirect the hungers, is this how? Lysera nodded. Yes, but it requires 2 keys. 1 guardian, 1 human, Mira whispered. But she's far away. How will that work? Lysera looked straight at Ethan. The bond between us already exists. Through your kiss, our souls are linked. Kyle blinked. Wait, all this happened because he kissed a statue? Lysera's eyes glowed brighter. Because he touched destiny, the ship's radar beeped. A structure was forming ahead. A massive ring floating in space, glowing faint gold, cracked and broken but still alive. The Starforge, Mira said in awe, it's real. As they approached, the ship's systems began to respond on their own. Panels opened, lights flickered, and the mark on Ethan's arm started pulsing in perfect rhythm with the ring. Lysera's voice became softer, almost a whisper. When you reach the heart, the choice will come. Save your kind or save yourself. The ship landed inside the ring, metal groaning as it touched the ancient floor. Everything was dark for a moment, and then the walls lit up with golden light. Ethan stepped out first, his heart pounding. He felt something calling to him, not with words, but with emotion, loneliness, sorrow, and hope all mixed together. He walked toward the center where a sphere of light hovered in the air. It pulsed like a heartbeat reacting to his presence. Mira shouted from behind, Ethan, wait! But he couldn't stop. The moment his hand touched the sphere, everything around him vanished. He was floating in white space, silent, endless, and in front of him stood Lysera, no longer an image but real, alive, and close enough to touch. Her eyes shimmered like stars, her voice trembling. You came, she said, even after knowing what waits for you. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. Tell me how to stop it. Lysera looked at him sadly. You can't stop it. Ethan Vale, she said softly. But together, we can trap it again. As her words faded, the white space cracked open. Through the cracks, he saw the dark wave approaching. Billions of stars going dark one by one. Lysera reached out her hand. Take it, she said. And whatever happens next, and don't let go. Ethan hesitated for only a heartbeat, then took her hand. Light exploded around them. The Starforge awakened, shaking like a sleeping god. And far across the galaxy, the hunger screamed. Light filled the air like a living ocean. Ethan could barely breathe, his body floating between fire and air. He felt every heartbeat, every pulse of energy around him when he opened his eyes. He wasn't on the ship anymore. He was standing inside the heart of the Starforge. The room stretched endlessly in all directions, made of glowing rings and drifting shards of gold light. Each movement he made echoed softly, as if the place was alive and listening. Beside him, Lysera lay on the smooth golden floor. Her silver skin was dim, her breathing faint. Ethan rushed to her side, kneeling down. Lysera! Can you hear me? Her eyes opened slowly, their glow weak but still beautiful. You touched the core, she whispered. Now it knows you. Ethan looked around, confused. Where are we? This, she said softly, is the Forge's soul, where stars are born and destroyed. He helped her sit up, his heart racing. The mark on his arm was glowing brighter than ever. Golden light now ran through his veins. Spreading to his chest, Lysera's eyes followed it. The bond is stronger than I thought, she said. Her voice trembling, Ethan frowned. What bond? She looked down. When you kissed me, human, you connected our life forces. Ethan froze, his mind spinning. You mean? Lizra nodded. Your soul reached mine, and the seal recognized the touch of life again. Ethan sat back, trying to process her words. So we're linked? Lizra nodded slowly. Yes, our energies are now one. If you die, I fade with you. If I fall, you fall too. Ethan swallowed hard. That sounds more like a curse. Lizra looked away, sadness in her voice. It is a curse born from hope. Silence fell between them, broken only by the soft hum of the forge. In the distance, walls of light began to shift, showing visions, planets burning, stars turning black, and a dark shadow moving through the cosmos like a wave. Ethan stood staring at it. That's the hunger. Lizra nodded weakly. It feeds on life and memory. It devours entire worlds to grow. Ethan clenched his fists. Then tell me how to stop it. She looked at him sadly. Stopping it means ending one of us. Ethan froze. What do you mean? Lizra's voice grew softer. To trap the hunger again, one life must become the lock and one must become the key. He stared at her, shocked. And you expect me to choose? Her eyes lowered. The forge has already chosen. Golden lines formed on the floor beneath Ethan's feet, swirling around him like a cage of light. He felt his strength draining, the forge pulling at his energy. Lizra reached out and stopped it, her hand glowing. No, she whispered. Not yet. The light faded. Leaving him shaking, Ethan looked at her. You were going to let it take me. Her voice broke. You are human and fragile, short-lived, and yet you hold the power of gods inside you. She stood, her silver hair falling like liquid. You can survive the merging longer than I can. Ethan's anger faded when he saw the pain in her eyes. He understood. She wasn't cruel, she was desperate. She had carried this burden for 1,000 years, and now fate had handed it to a stranger who barely understood it. He stepped closer. If one of us has to die, we'll find another way. Lizra smiled faintly. You sound like my people once did. She turned to the glowing core of the forge, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. There is another path, she said. A forbidden one. Ethan tilted his head. Forbidden? Lizra nodded. A bond deeper than the seal. A merging of souls, not energy. Her voice lowered. If we link completely, we can share the burden, divide the pain, and maybe survive together. Ethan's chest tightened. And if it fails? Her eyes met his, glowing brighter now. Then neither of us will exist. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the soft hum of the forge filled the air. Finally, Ethan said quietly, Then let's do it. Lizra looked at him in shock. You would risk your life for mine? He smiled faintly. You risked yours for the galaxy, seems fair. She reached out her hand, trembling slightly. If we do this, our memories will become one, our thoughts, our fears, our hearts, she said softly. There will be no you and no me, only us. Ethan nodded slowly. Then maybe that's what the universe needs, not two beings fighting each other, but two becoming one. Lizra closed her eyes and took his hand. The moment their palms touched, golden fire exploded around them. The entire forge came alive, rings turning, symbols glowing, light surging through the corridors. Ethan felt himself falling into her, not physically, but through time and memory he saw her past, her people laughing under twin suns, their towers made of crystal and light, their songs carried across galaxies. Then he saw their end, the hunger rising from the dark, their cities burning, their children turning to dust. Lizra's voice whispered inside his mind. Now you see what I fought for. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered back. No one should fight alone. The bond deepened, energy bursting around them like a storm. Mira and Kyle, watching from the ship, could see the entire forge glowing like a newborn star inside. Ethan and Lizra's bodies began to merge in light, two silhouettes forming one bright shape. Lizra's voice echoed softly. The forbidden bond is done, Ethan whispered. What happens now? Her answer came like a breeze. Now we fight the darkness together. Outside, the hunger changed direction. It had felt the bond. It had felt the power. It opened its endless mouth across the sky, swallowing whole constellations. And somewhere inside the golden storm of the forge, two voices spoke as one. We are ready. Hook for next part. The star forge shook like a living heart. Golden light flooded every corner as energy roared through its veins. Ethan and Lysera stood in the center, their hands locked, their eyes glowing with the same shared fire. They could feel each other's thoughts now. No more secrets. No more walls. Her pain was his fear was hers, and the line between them was fading fast. Outside, the stars trembled. The hunger had arrived. A vast cloud of blackness stretching across galaxies. It swallowed the light of suns like a curtain of night falling over creation. Its voice echoed in every radio, every signal, every human mind across space. A whisper saying, "We are the end," inside the forge. Lysera's voice trembled as she looked at Ethan. "It's here," she said softly. "The final cycle begins now." Ethan tightened his grip on her hand. "Then we finish it." Lysera's eyes glowed brighter, gold and silver light dancing across her skin. "The soul merge must begin," she said. "Once we start, there is no return." The floor beneath them opened, revealing a giant glowing circle carved with alien symbols. Each mark represented a life sacrificed 1,000 years ago. Lysera stepped forward, her voice steady even as fear filled her heart. "I was once the seal that kept the hunger asleep," she whispered, "but now I can't hold it alone." Ethan nodded. "Then I'll hold it with you." They stepped into the circle together. Energy rose around them, wrapping them in light. At first it was warm, peaceful, almost gentle. Then the pain came, a fire that started in their hearts and spread to every cell. Ethan gasped, clutching his chest. "It burns." Lysera's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't fight it. Let it in." He saw flashes of her memories again, her world before the darkness, her people singing as they built the forge. He saw her mother, her friends, her promise to protect the stars no matter the cost. And then he saw her death. The moment she gave her life to seal the hunger, Lysera cried out, "I remember everything." Ethan's own memories mixed with hers, his childhood, his laughter, his mistakes, his loneliness. He saw his mother's smile, his first love, his dreams of exploring the stars. And then both their lives became one long river of light. The forge responded, the rings above them spinning faster, creating waves of golden energy that rippled across space. Dr. Mira and Kyle watched from the ship, shielding their eyes as light filled the void. "What's happening to them?" Mira shouted. Kyle could barely speak. "They're becoming something else inside the storm." Lysera's body began to change, her silver form glowing brighter, her shape becoming less physical, more light than flesh. Ethan's body shimmered with gold fire, the mark on his arm spreading across his chest. Connecting to hers, their voices became one, echoing through the forge, one life, one soul, one purpose, but the hunger had felt it. From across the stars it screamed, a sound so loud it shattered comets and cracked moons. Its tendrils of darkness rushed toward the forge like rivers of ink. Lysera's voice trembled. "It's coming faster than expected." Ethan held her close, his eyes blazing. "Then we'll face it together." The darkness struck the forge like a tidal wave. Metal groaned, light shattered, alarms screamed across the ship. Mira shouted, "The forge is collapsing!" Kyle yelled, "We can't leave them!" But the forge had locked itself, sealing the humans outside to protect them. Inside, Ethan and Lysera stood against the storm. The soul merge was complete now, and their power was beyond anything either had known. Ethan raised his hand, golden fire erupting from his palm. Pushing back the blackness, Lysera joined him, her silver light weaving into his. Together, their combined power formed a brilliant spiral of gold and silver, a new kind of light. Where it touched the hunger, the darkness hissed and dissolved like smoke in sunlight. But the more they fought, the weaker they became. The forge drew energy from their souls, draining their strength to fuel its core. Lysera gasped.
"It's too strong." Ethan gritted his teeth.
"Then we give it everything." He turned to her, their faces inches apart. "If this ends with us, then let it be worth it." Tears glowed in her silver eyes. "You are a fool. Human," she whispered. He smiled softly. "I've been called worse." They pressed their foreheads together, and light burst between them like the birth of a new star. For a moment, the entire galaxy went silent. Then came the explosion. A wave of gold and silver light spread out from the forge, racing across the stars. Every planet touched by it shined like dawn. The hunger screamed again, its body tearing apart, pieces scattering into the void. The forge trembled, barely holding together. Ethan and Lysera hovered in the center, both glowing, both fading. Her voice was faint now, trembling. It's done, she whispered, but the forge, it's dying. Ethan could feel it too, the power collapsing around them. He looked at her, his vision blurring. Then we die with it. Lysera shook her head weakly. No, you must live. She placed her hand over his heart, the golden light shifting from her to him. He tried to pull away. No, you'll vanish, she smiled sadly. You are human, and the galaxy needs hope. Her light began to fade. Her body turning into golden mist, Ethan screamed her name, but his voice was lost in the roaring energy. She whispered one last time, remember me? In the stars, and then she was gone. The forge went silent, the hunger was broken, and Ethan floated alone in the golden ruins, surrounded by the quiet hum of dying stars. Ethan opened his eyes to sunlight. For a moment he didn't know where he was. The ground beneath him was warm and soft. Like golden sand, two suns hung in the sky, one white, one red, painting everything in colors too beautiful to describe. He sat up slowly, his head aching, his heart heavy. The last thing he remembered was light, endless light, and Lysera's voice saying, remember me in the stars? He looked down at his arms. The golden mark was still there, faint but alive. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. His veins glowed pale silver under his skin. He whispered softly, Lysera. But the wind was his only answer, carrying dust and whispers through the air. Around him stood the broken remains of the star forge. Its rings floated silently in the sky, still glowing faintly. Each piece hummed with fading energy, a dying heartbeat of a once-living machine. Ethan rose to his feet, dizzy. He felt strange, lighter, stronger, and not fully human anymore when he touched the sand. Small sparks of light followed his fingers, like the ground itself knew him. He tried to walk, but every step echoed like a memory. Voices filled his mind, fragments of Lysera's thoughts still inside him. Her laughter, her sadness, her last breath, she was gone. But not completely. Part of her still lived within him, bound through the soul merge. He whispered, you're still here, aren't you? A faint, gentle voice answered inside his heart. Always. Ethan froze, tears burning his eyes. Lysera, I am not alive and I am not dead, the voice said softly. I am part of you now. He felt her warmth inside him, like sunlight behind clouds. The hunger is gone, she whispered. But the universe will need a guardian again. Ethan looked up at the broken sky. Then I'll be that guardian. Suddenly, the ground trembled from beyond the dunes. Dark clouds began to form, small, flickering shadows. The hunger wasn't fully gone. Only weakened, it was trying to rise again, feeding on what little life remained. Ethan clenched his fists, feeling power move through him. Golden light burst from his hands. Forming patterns in the air, Lysera's voice whispered, you can end it, forever. But the cost will be your life. He stood silent for a long moment. Images flashed through his mind. Earth. Blue and peaceful, Mira and Kyle, the faces of his crew. He could almost hear their laughter, their fear, their hope. And then Lysera's smile, soft and full of trust. He nodded slowly. If I have to choose between my life and my world, I already know my answer. Lysera's voice trembled. You are more like my people than you know. He walked to the center of the desert where the light from the forge still glowed. The wind picked up, swirling around him. He raised his glowing hand toward the twin suns. The golden mark on his arm blazed like fire. A sphere of light rose from the ground, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. This is it, he whispered. Lysera's voice came again, soft but steady. Once the merge begins, you cannot return. Ethan smiled faintly. Wasn't planning to. He closed his eyes, letting the energy flow through him. The air grew heavy, the ground cracking under his feet. The clouds of the hunger screamed in the distance, trying to reach him, but his light grew brighter. Spreading faster, pushing them back, the sky turned gold. And the world trembled under his power. His voice mixed with hers, speaking as one. We end what began with a kiss, the light expanded. Swallowing the shadows, the sky, and the dying forge, every dark particle burned away. Every star around the system reignited. The hunger screamed one last time, man was gone. Then came silence. The kind of silence that only comes after the storm. In that silence, Lysera spoke one last time. Ethan Vale, the galaxy will remember you. He smiled weakly, his body fading into light. Just promise me one thing. What is it? Don't let me forget who I was. Her voice was like a lullaby now. Never. The twin suns aligned. And in that moment, Ethan became pure energy. A burst of gold and silver that shot across the stars. The forge exploded in a wave of light, then went still. From that day, a new star shone in that part of the galaxy, brighter than all the rest. The locals later called it the Guardian Star. They said it never moved, never dimmed, as if someone was still watching from above. Centuries later, on a quiet moon, a young explorer stood beneath the twin suns, looking at the golden star in the sky. She brushed dust off a half-buried statue. A man and a woman standing hand in hand. Their faces calm, their eyes closed. At the base were ancient words written in both alien and human script. It said, "He kissed the key, she kissed the end," and together they saved the stars. The girl smiled softly, whispering, "Whoever you were, thank you." As she walked away, the statues shimmered faintly for just a second. The stone woman's eyes glowed silver, and the man's golden veins flickered under the surface. A soft breeze passed, carrying a familiar voice through the air. "Sleep now, my love, the stars are safe, and in the sky above." The guardian star pulsed once, a heartbeat of light, a promise that love, and even between two worlds, and never truly dies.